Sign or decline? That is the question. We've been answering it all off season. We're going to stay with the wide receiver. We've heard the name Mike Evans. We've talked about Gabe Davis. We've talked about some trade possibilities. But I'm going to bring up a name that seems to get mentioned randomly here or there from the comments on the text line. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app, YouTube, Twitch, all that. That's Cody Stoots. You can read his stuff, Houston Football, Best Money You'll Spend. And you can follow his channel on YouTube as well. Hollywood Brown, should the Texans, with all this talk about receivers, should Hollywood Brown be a possibility for the Houston Texans from a financial standpoint, from a fit standpoint? We've both been open to wide receivers. Should Hollywood Brown even be in the discussion?
So initially, when I was thinking about wide receivers that fit for the Texans, Hollywood Brown was not on the radar for me. And as we got deeper into this process and as we start thinking a little bit more, Hollywood Brown sort of fits where the Texans don't currently have that guy. Look, Tank Dell and Nico Collins can get deep in the way that this offense operates. But the pure burner, you hear it all the time, the cliche at this point, the take the top off guy, neither one of those guys are that type of wide receiver. And with a guy like Hollywood Brown, if he is playing his best football, that guy is a game changer for what he brings to the table and what he could do. And you start thinking about all the different kinds of wide receivers. The Texans don't have this guy, and getting a guy like this is sometimes it costs a premium, and a guy with success under his belt, sometimes it costs a premium, but he is a type and style of wide receiver that the Texans don't have. And to draft a guy like this, it would be probably one of the expensive, highly invested picks. And I don't know if everybody's totally on board with that type of thing. So Hollywood's definitely on the radar. In fact, when we talk about him, I got to get cool. I got to go Hollywood. I got to put the shades on inside like this.
So the projection, I think, is a little bit out of control. I just don't see this happening. We always use Spot Rack as the resource. It says 4 years, 59.
It's too high.
I don't see that happening. If you're telling me it's 4 years, 59, the answer is hell no. I just don't see that happening with Hollywood Brown. It's been an interesting career for Hollywood because in Baltimore the first 3 years, his final year there, he had 1,000 yards. The 2 seasons before that, it was 769 and 584. Not really an offense that was equipped for him to really succeed. And I think we saw that. That's why they ended up making the change that they did. Arizona, they've been an absolute dumpster fire. 709 and 574 in the yardage, just 10.6, 11.3 yards per catch. If you look at Hollywood's numbers, they're not going to blow you away. You're going to wonder some stuff, but I do think there's a gray area there to where you can look past them. My thing with Hollywood, I don't think he's getting this projection. I just don't see any way that he's getting this projection. So I think the discussion is, if he's in the $10 million range, like 2 years, 20, something like that, would he be someone that you end up saying, okay, well, early on, we weren't going to go get him, but now it makes sense. I could see this being a Dalton Schultz situation where to make it make more sense, there's a heavy wide receiver draft, just like there was a heavy tight end last year.
Yeah.
Kind of a guy that you don't consider elite, but you think can help your football team. And hell, all these guys sign, and then the draft is coming up, and all of a sudden a guy like Hollywood Brown's falling in your lap for like 2 years, $20 million. And in that scenario, I could see it. Yeah. If we're talking about giving him like unrealized potential, Gabe Davis, $15 million a year type of money and stuff, my answer would be no.
So his projection is so high because he just came off of his 5th-year option, which was $13 million, $13.4 million to be roughly exact there. So that's why the projection's so high. You kind of use that as a working point if you're the agent. Well, my guy just made $13 million a year. So he's got, that's got to be sort of the base for him. And there's an argument there. Look, the production in Arizona is not what it's supposed to be. He also didn't have his starting quarterback for a good portion of both of those seasons. So didn't have his starting quarterback in Kyler Murray. So the production's down a little bit. And I would be interested to see what Hollywood Brown looks like in an offense that is set up to produce to multiple wide receivers. And like, there's offenses that can take care of one guy and then it's more running the football or getting it to the tight end or throwing it to the backs. Like, this offense can service multiple pass catchers throughout the course of a stretch of games. Like, it's on any given Sunday who the guy is going to be. But I mean, we saw Tank Dell step up in some games. We saw Nico Collins step up in some games. We saw games where both of them were big-time playmakers for this team. So now you start thinking about adding that other element. And again, this is a speed element and a traditional burner wide receiver that's not Tank Dell's style and that's not Nico Collins' style. And putting him into this Texans offense with Bobby Slowick, who could come up with some stuff for him. and you think about, I mean, I just think about Nico Collins and Hollywood standing next to each other on the right side of the offense, and Nico runs one of those deep ends, and that safety takes one step to Nico, and the next thing you know, Hollywood's behind him, and CJ is dialing that sucker up down the field for a bomb. Like, I can just see it. I can see it playing out at NRG Stadium. Like, it is something that I can visualize. And you can't always do that when you think about a free agent. I can visualize it with Hollywood Brown.
I kind of feel like there's still a little bit of a feel, and I'm not separating myself from it. I have to kind of snap out of it. There's still kind of a little bit of a feel where you discuss the possibility of Hollywood Brown and you automatically think, well, him and Tank Dell are alike. Like, they're kind of, I don't think they're like the same. And if they are, I don't think that's like necessarily a problem if they do stuff similar. Tank Dell is a complete total receiver. Hollywood's, he can do other things, but that's your home run threat. That's your guy. The case for me is I think that the market value is way off. I think this could be very similar to the Dalton Schultz situation, where you go through free agency. You decide, well, we don't want to, if you decide we don't want to sign Mike Evans, we don't want to pay that kind of bread. You address other things, you get your running back, you maybe get some other like bottom end receivers. And then you just look up and you see that this guy's available for a favorable type of deal, just because the way the market's set up. I think it's very similar. So that would be my case for you. You just mentioned how he fits in stylistically. I agree with that. I think the price, if he gets 15 million, more power to him. I would bet very strongly against that happening, a 4-year, $60 million deal. So my case is Dalton Schultz last year. I don't think it's going to be like their first option with Hollywood Brown, but I could see them revisiting it and saying, all right, this could work out for us.
There's quite a few guys that, you know, I like this type of guy on a bargain / bounce back / under what he expected type of deal. I like that type of player more than if, you know, someone who kind of thought they were getting, you know, like a Gabe Davis settling for less money.
He's going to be a wide receiver 1 sometime. I don't think Hollywood Brown is thinking I'm going to be a wide receiver 1. I think he's probably thinking a little bit more the opposite. He might like the fit.
I got a hunch that he would like to get paid a decent amount of money and win some football games. I mean, he was on a team that was winning games, then he went to a team that couldn't win football games. And like that's got to be not very fun. I know you're getting paid, but that's got to be not very fun. The case against it is the money. You know, the case against is the money. If he gets paid a lot, then it won't make a lot of sense. Because again, in a year or even in this offseason, you've got to pay Nico Collins. And if you overpay someone at that position, then Collins has a really strong bargaining and negotiating tool to bring to the table. So I'm not interested in his current projection, but I think as you've laid out, I don't believe him to be getting close to that projection and what he ultimately gets. He's fairly durable. I mean, it's not like he's played every game, but he's played most of them. And so there's not a lot of worry there. I feel like he fits. And again, it's the money. That's the big case for me. And I don't think the personality is a bad one.
No, he's a good kid.
Yeah. There's a fit, and he'd be on in a culture.
Might
and
drive a little fast
team.
sometimes, but he's a good kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the nickname. Maybe we got to go to H-Town Brown.
Well, I mean, they said that a lot of people have accused CJ of potentially going Hollywood this offseason. Maybe the Texans can go Hollywood for CJ. The verdict of Hollywood Brown for me, I'm going to put a sideways thumb. I'm going to be gutless. I'm going to go sideways thumb. If the money is what Spot Rack has, then hell no. But I don't think that's going to be. And I think if the price is right after the offseason, I think this could be a good fit and something that Bobby Slowick could definitely work with. Would probably want to get a receiver that has some size. I don't necessarily know that Hollywood Brown would prevent you from perhaps still maybe drafting a receiver. But yeah, this could be a fit. And I know some people will say, well, what about a guy like Xavier Worthy on day 2, kind of Hollywood style? I could get down with that as well. But I think a guy who can take the top off of a defense like a Hollywood Brown or like a Xavier Worthy is something that this team could definitely use.
And again, I'm with you on the Bob Barker, Drew Carey, Price is Right, sign me up. So I'll go thumb sideways with you. But an investment in Hollywood Brown allows you to do some different things with the draft. You don't get shoehorned into, oh, well, we've got to keep assets for this. Like maybe it allows Caserio to get a little mobile in that first round if a cornerback that he really likes starts to slip, or allows him to move around with some of those mid-round picks if a guy is also there in the second round, because he's moved up for guys in the second round a ton in his general manager career. So it allows you a little bit more flexibility where you're not shoehorned into, well, have to get this because we don't have it. Like if you have this speed guy on the team, maybe you don't have to spend a first or a second round pick on a wide receiver. You could maybe take a guy that develops into it, or allows you to get mobile because, hey, we filled a need with free agency, so maybe we can use one less draft pick because we traded up to go get a guy that we really did need. So I'll go thumb sideways with you. Price is Right caveat on Hollywood, but as it's projected, that's a big hell no. And he can stay Scottsdale Brown in that case.
Damn, I might have talked myself into Xavier Worthy. I might be onto something else. Appreciate you, Stoots. Be sure to subscribe, like, ride along. It is The Locker Room. Listen to In the Loop, Sports Radio 610, Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central, on the home of the Houston Texans, the show of records. So Hollywood Brown for the right price, perhaps for the $15 million a year. No, thank you. Appreciate you for coming through. This has been another edition of Sign or Decline.